Welcome, and thanks for stopping by for Creepy Science, a program filled with mystery and magic and some creepy surprises. Creepy because this is fall. It's the season for bubbling potions and spooky jack-o'-lanterns and those bare branches that scrape against your bedroom window late at night. Oh, and of course there's the candy. And we don't want to forget the costumes. Well, I'm Gail. I work at East Library, and today Tina, Jamie, Brady, and myself have some cool and creepy experiments that we'd like to share with you. Now, these are experiments that are easy enough you can reproduce them at home. They're experiments that will amuse and amaze your family and friends, and what a perfect time of year to use them for. So if you're ready for some fun, let's get started.
Hi, welcome to Pikes Peak Library District Homeschool Spooky Science Project. Today we will be making a magic pumpkin. It's going to be lots of fun for candy lovers and artists alike. The supplies you'll be needing, pretty easy today. So I would get the extra large bag of Reese's Pieces so you have enough to nibble on while you watch while the magic happens, and maybe you'll find you want to make more than just one of these. This is a great project for all ages, but especially for our younger audience watching us today. Once you get your Reese's Pieces, you'll need some bowls. I have different size bowls that I went ahead and separated the different colors into. And as you could see, it's a great selection for this time of the year. I also suggest, and you don't have to have these, some toothpicks or perhaps even leftover chopsticks. And you'll see later on why we need those. You'll also need a white plate or two, depending on how many people are joining in on the fun with you, to create your project on. So the first thing we'll be doing today is using those separated colors to create a pumpkin. And as you could see here, I used orange on the outside edge, and I used brown for that stem that happens on the top of the pumpkin. I used yellow because I like that to light up the eyes a bit. And then brown, I just made a fun little silly smile to my pumpkin. You can design it however you like. What do you think? I kind of like it. I think I'll use this one. And you can keep making as many as you like, just lifting these up and starting over again if you like. There we go. So that's fun about working with candy. And plus, you get to take a nibble when you like. So the next part of this is that you will need an adult to help you with some warm tap water. Or here in our Colorado mountains, I found it was more dramatic if I boiled some water first and then let it cool off. A measuring cup is really helpful with this spout on top, and you'll see why later. The thing about magic is, and life a little bit too, is you might want to think about what will happen once we add this warm water to our fun little Reese's Pieces. And that's called making a prediction. It's kind of part of life and part of science. It's the scientific method, which I'm sure you've heard about before. So let's go ahead and make a prediction. Perhaps you want to tell someone in your family, or write it down, or you can even draw it. Let's take a moment to do that first. All right, let's get ready. So now we are going to predict what will happen once we add this warm water to the Reese's Pieces candies. An adult may need to help you with this because we're going to add it slowly and gently on the outside of our candies as best as we can. And as you can see, as I pour mine, some falls on the inside, some falls on the outside. And as we're watching the magic happen, you can take a few moments to enjoy your candy or to think about your prediction. As I'm watching it unfold, this is where I like to use a toothpick or a chopstick just to swirl these colors around as they're happening. Oh my goodness, it's almost like miniature fireworks. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but it's really lots of fun. Oh my goodness, I love the way the brown goes into the yellow and the orange goes into the brown. It's almost like a kaleidoscope of color happening here, right on my plate. And there's your magical pumpkin. I hope you had fun doing this experiment, and the longer it sits, the deeper the colors will get. I hope you had fun, and I hope you enjoy your candy and your magical pumpkin. Thanks for joining me today.
Let's start off with dry ice. It makes for some really spooky experiments, and it's also very cool. In fact, it's incredibly cold. It's about 142 degrees below freezing. That's really cold. So cold, in fact, that we can't touch it with our skin or we would burn ourselves. So instead, it's got to be handled with something like this. I'm going to use my leather-palmed thick work gloves. Now, let's get into the ice. Dry ice is frozen carbon dioxide, which is a gas that's used in soda, soft drinks, sparkling ciders, and other sparkling drinks. It gives it its fizz and bubble, and we call that carbonated. It's also a byproduct of our breathing. So whenever we exhale, we breathe out, we're exhaling carbon dioxide, and it's absorbed into the atmosphere. Now, dry ice at room temperature will disappear rather quickly, and that's because it's going to return to its original form, which was not a liquid. Instead, it's going to return to a gas or a vapor-like state. This is a unique thing for sure, and because of that, we're going to be able to use it to do some cool and creepy experiments. Our first experiment is one I like to call screaming ice. Are you ready? That's pretty screechy. It's doing that because these tongs are at room temperature. And when they touch this 142 degree below freezing ice, this is what we get. Screechy, screaming, because the melting or the sublimating causes the tongues to vibrate so that we get the screech. And when your family and friends have heard enough of that screeching, you can always introduce them to this bubbling potion. I've got a container with some fairly warm water. I'm going to add a couple of chunks of dry ice to it. And we're going to watch that dry ice begin to sublimate because it's in such a warm environment. And what we see at the top, the vapors, are really a gas called carbon dioxide. That's exactly right. Well, let's make this kind of creepy looking container a little bit spookier. And we'll do that by adding some green food coloring. As it dissolves in there, it's looking a little more spooky, kind of like a spooky potion. And then let's just add a little bit of dish soap and see what that does. Right away, we're going to begin to see some very cool bubbles. Now, inside of those bubbles is, you've got it, carbon dioxide gas. It's sublimating and escaping through the soap bubbles. I wonder just how long it would take for all of the gas to escape in the bubbles and completely leave the container. Now, you'll have to trust me on this one. That took quite a while. And that's long-lasting amusement for everyone. There's one more really cool and spooky thing I like to do with dry ice, and that's make a mysterious bubbling crystal ball. And then I can see your future. To make the bubbling crystal ball, we only need a few supplies. Again, I'm using a vase. It's larger than the first one. It has a nice rounded lip at the top. And to this, I'm going to add a couple of decent sized chunks of dry ice. And we'll get our mixture bubbling and boiling and brewing. And then I'm going to take my little bowl here that has Dawn dish soap and water in it, along with a little piece of cotton fabric that I'm going to use in just a minute. And I'm going to rub it around this rim just to make it wet. Then I'll take my cotton fabric out. It's a piece of t-shirt that's been cut into strips, and here's one of the strips from an old t-shirt. So now it's got some soapy water on it, and I'm just going to bring it carefully across and see if I can't create a film that can fill with carbon dioxide. And voila, there's our crystal bubble ball. It won't last long, but I'm beginning to see some things in there. I think it's your future. Ah, yes, I can see your future clearly now. It's filled with pumpkin magic, slimy eyeballs, and mysterious monsters. Stay tuned.
Hi everyone, this is Jamie with the Pikes Peak Library District, and for some spooky fun, we're making some frog eyes today. These are actually like sensory beads, but they are taste proof or edible since they're made with tapioca beads or tapioca pearls. So we want to start with making sure that you bring your water to a boil, and I have already done that. Mine takes about 10 minutes for my recipe. And so it's time to go ahead and pour in our tapioca pearls. Mine are already colored tapioca pearls, so I won't be dyeing mine afterwards, but if you get plain white ones, you can definitely add some food coloring to make them any color that you want. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pour these in. That's a cup of beads, and we're going to let those boil for about 5 minutes, and then we will come back and see what they look like. Alright, so as you can see, we've let our tapioca boil for, it was about 4 minutes, and they've plumped up nicely. They look like they are ready for us to go ahead and drain. So we're going to drain them, put some cold water over them so that they're nice and cool, so that we can play with them. Alright, right now we're just running some cold water over our beads so that they're nice and cool. They look like they're ready to go. Alright, now our frog eyes have cooled, and we're able to just kind of sink our hands in and play and get that sensory experience. They really do kind of feel like they could be frog eyes. They're slimy and just kind of squishy, and so they come out really well. And the best part is if one of your children decides to bite into one, then they're perfectly safe because it's just tapioca. And again, if you want, you can also use some food coloring and make them whatever color you want. Again, these were pre-colored. If you wanted to solely make them green, you can add food coloring to the white ones and maybe pull out the different colors, but it certainly is fun. So everyone, have fun playing with your squishy, slimy frog eyes.
Oh, that was terrifying. Happy Halloween and save science.